April 19th. On April 20th, and my dad, it's kind of an interesting story, and you guys, I am going to tie this back into Arbonne. But Arbonne was my vehicle. Let me get this out front. Arbonne was my vehicle. To me, Arbonne was never an end. Arbonne was a tool. It was something that I was going to have in my back pocket so that I could go out and impact the lives of kids with cancer, and that I could raise awareness of what they were at risk for, that they would know based on the therapy that they had, that these were the immediate concerns. This is what you need to be concerned about, and this is what you can do to delay that from happening. So I was all about using Arbonne to get there. So I started my Nap Time Network with Allie Henson in 2005, and while my son napped for 3.5 hours every afternoon, I built a network. And I built a network that was generating $2,200 to $2,500 a month in a 5-month period of time. And then my heart started to go. And I couldn't work my network. And when you lose activity with Arbonne, you just tank. You cannot, you have to continue to work it. And so because of my heart failure, a lot of things went. My Nap Time Network went. My nursing license has lapsed, and it's quite ironic because we moved this last spring, and I was, sorting through things, very determined that I was going to declutter and purge, and I found my recertification exam. I had actually completed it, and it was signed, sealed, but did not get mailed because we were so distracted that my heart was failing, and that we didn't have an institution that was willing to take me on as a transplant patient. So I'm at Emory April 15th. I was admitted on tax day. On the 19th, I think on the 18th was the first time that I can remember saying on the phone with Cleveland to the pre-transplant coordinator, if you don't get me out of here, I'm dead. I am dying now. And I remember just that realization that I could feel my body transition into I am now dying. I am not living. I am actively dying. And they life-flighted me out on April 19th. My husband and my son came by car. They came by ground while I went by plane with my dad. We got to Cleveland about 1 o'clock that Saturday, and were greeted by Dr. Starling, who's medical cardiology, and then also Dr. Gonzalez, who I affectionately call Gonzo. Gonzo is my bridge builder cardiothoracic surgeon, and he's a rock star. He didn't place my heart, but he made it possible for me to live long enough that I was able to receive a heart. So on Sunday, the 20th, Gonzo recommended to my family, to my husband, that they submerge me into a medically induced coma to let my body rest, to hopefully bring my heart rate down, to let all of the metabolic processes just kind of deep freeze and really go on hold. And at the same time, sorry, it's medication time. And they placed me on ECMO. I don't know if you all are familiar with ECMO, but basically it's bedside bypass. And so because of my cancer, they typically will place it using your neck artery and vein. But because of the deformity of my chest wall, and because they had to preserve these vessels, they could not place the ECMO the way traditionally it is placed. Well, you all don't know Gonzo, but he's quite a cowboy, and he doesn't really like to feel helpless, and so he leaves the room and he calls his mom in Puerto Rico, and he says, "Mom, I've got nothing." This angel arrived at Cleveland yesterday, and I don't have a plan. I can't place a total artificial heart. She can't house it. I can't place a ventricular assist device because she can't house it. I don't know what we're going to do for her. And what do I do? And his mom said, well, and then you pray. And he said, okay, Mom. And so now we pray. So she rallied all of her find in Puerto Rico on my behalf, in addition to all of our network, which was, I mean, it's just incredible to me. And the next day, they made the recommendation, and Gonzo took me into the OR and placed the ECMO device using my right femoral cavity to place it. It has never been done before, and they just said, if you guys want to proceed, we will proceed. So they listed me, took me to the OR and listed me with UNOS. I, at the time, was in the most critical need in the nation. The factors that were on my side was the fact that I have a rare blood type. I'm B positive. I'm small. And those were the only things I had in my favor. Everything else was stacked against me. I mean, my ideal body weight is 100 pounds. I weighed 77. I was totally compromised. Couldn't lift my head. My nutrition was shot. And there was nothing really that even resembled life. 12 hours after being listed, Cleveland was notified that they thought they had a match for me. And so on Monday, April 21st, throughout the day, they did the match workup and decided that based on a 60% match, that they would move forward with transplant. Now, mind you, Cleveland is a huge heart transplant center. They're #1 in the nation for cardiac care. Their program is so large that one of the reasons they were able to take my case is because they could afford for me to die. And their program would still survive. If I had been taken locally and I had died, it would have done serious damage to transplant in Georgia, because the programs are mid-sized to small size and still building. Cleveland moved forward. They took me to the OR at 8 o'clock that evening, and I was in the OR all night. My heart was placed just prior to midnight, and I was hospitalized for almost 90 days afterwards. Thankfully, my husband works for Oracle. He works remotely, and he and my son, who was preschool age, they were able to just up and come, and we had people flying in up from Atlanta to spend the weekends with me. Sister-in-laws, cousins, everybody was coming and providing breaks for my family, and I was on life support for 42 days. Not once did I develop pneumonia. Had a few septic episodes. Struggled maybe, I'm trying to think, maybe once with a minor episode of rejection. Once the matching criteria all came back, my donor and I, if you look at us under a microscope, we're twins. We're a perfect match. And so I'm on very little medication at this time to prevent rejection, because my body recognizes this heart as my own. So that being said, my why when I went into Arbonne was to serve these families. And for whatever reason, I mean, I would argue I was brought into Arbonne so that Carol would be involved with Arbonne. It's a domino effect. I can see so much purpose in each footstep that at times it really, really brings me to my knees. How profound and how detail-oriented every single detail has been in my life. So that being said, Cleveland, I just reread the article today. They had interviewed our family 4 months after transplant. And the very last line, it's up on their website, the very last line of the article recounts my response to the question, what are you going to do? Now, mind you, at this point, I weighed 66 pounds. 4 months afterwards, I didn't start gaining my weight back until at least almost a year afterwards. And because I was so depleted. I mean, I was taking copper, I was taking zinc, I was taking targeted replacement. It was ridiculous, the number of pills that I took every day. But at the very end, my response was, I intend to work with organ donor and recipient families and to continue to raise awareness about the late effects of childhood cancer therapy. And so vehicle for me. What Arbonne showed me was the power of a network, was the power of word of mouth, was the power of life on life, changing life on life. And, certainly along the way, what I have learned so much from so many of the women that actually came alongside of me and followed in my footsteps with Arbonne. I mean, Kara, I look at Kara and I see perseverance and fortitude written all over her. And what has come is I'm now stepping out on faith. I thought Arbonne was going to be this vehicle to provide the financial backing for this foundation, and I'm stepping out with no money to start this foundation, and coming back to Arbonne and saying, you know what, my life is about being brave with my life so that others can be brave with theirs. And that is exactly what I intend to do. And I would just encourage you all, unless you